On April 20th, 2012, at 7:15 a.m., the police emergency line receives the following call.
I don't want to be alarmist. My wife isn't home. I don't know where she is.
Okay. When did you last see her, sir?
Last night when we went to bed. When I went to bed, and I got up this morning and she wasn't there, and that's not unusual. She often goes for a walk in the morning.
Yep.
I've texted her and called her a number of times. I think she has her phone with her.
Yep.
And I'm now driving the street.
The call is made by Gerard Baden-Clay. He says his wife Allison has disappeared. Over the next few days, the search for Allison escalates, but there's no sign of the missing mother of three.
I'm trying to look after my children at the moment, but we really trust that the police are doing everything they can to find my wife, and we just hope that she'll come home soon.
But right from the start, police are highly suspicious of the very man who had alerted them to her disappearance in the first place.
She was the girl next door. She was everybody's daughter, sister, mother.
This is the story of Allison Baden-Clay. Allison Dickey was born in 1968. She was a high achiever and was smart, beautiful, and kind. Allison studied ballet and graduated with honors from the prestigious University of Queensland. She was also a beauty queen, winning the Miss Brisbane title in 1994. Allison could speak 6 languages, had traveled the world, spent a year teaching English in Japan, and worked at a resort on beautiful Heron Island. She exuded sunshine and positivity, like her favorite flower, the sunflower. In 1990, Allison met Ian Drayton, who worked in real estate, and the two began a relationship. 5 years later, she met Gerard Baden-Clay, who had recently been hired at her workplace. She was immediately bowled over. Gerard was handsome, with boyish good looks. Although he had grown up in London, his family moved to Africa before finally settling in Australia. His great-grandfather was Robert Baden-Powell, the founder of the Scouting movement. Gerard was proud of this prestigious connection, as you can see in this Scout promotion video.
Scouting is a global organization which has its core fundamental in doing unto others as you'd have done unto you, and leaving the world a better place than you found it.
Allison was all set to marry Ian, but then Gerard wooed her away. She would later tell friends that she couldn't decide between the two men and resorted to a test to help her. In a hotel with Ian, she left her clothes on the bed and took a shower. When she came out, the clothes were still there, crumpled and unmoved. On a night away with Baden-Clay, she did the same thing. Gerard neatly ironed her clothes, then hung them in the cupboard. What some might call odd, even controlling behavior, sealed the deal for Allison. She chose Gerard Baden-Clay. The couple got married in 1997. Soon, they had 3 beautiful children, and from all accounts, looked like a happy family. The morning that Allison disappears, Gerard texts his wife several times.
Al, getting concerned. Where are you? The app doesn't say either. H and S now up. I'm dressed and about to make lunches. Please just text me back or call. Love, G.
When police arrive in response to his call, they notice large scratch marks on his face. Gerard tells them they're shaving cuts from a blunt razor. He says he hasn't bought new razor blades for at least 6 months. Investigators begin to question Gerard on whether anything had happened between the couple the previous night. Gerard tells them that a marriage counselor had advised them to spend 15 minutes a day letting Allison vent after she discovered he was having an affair. He says,
We had one discussion last night, and there were some difficult things that we talked about, but it wasn't. We then finished, and then we talked about what were the plans for today.
When the officers ask if they had gotten into a fight, Gerard evades the question.
We've had some challenges.
Officers find that Gerard also has an injury on his hand, which he says he got from changing a light bulb the day before. And the red marks on his chest? He tells them he had accidentally crushed a caterpillar against his chest. The officers ask Gerard's permission to search the house, but they don't see any signs of a struggle. They declare the house a crime scene and begin a large search effort. As the hours pass and there's no news from Allison, the search begins to escalate. Police seek public help to find her. Over the next few days, Allison's parents make a desperate appeal, asking for help to find their daughter.
9 News understands Mr. Baden-Clay has hired lawyers and has been in regular contact with detectives.
I've spoken to the police about everything and I've had no contact from her at all.
Allison disappeared last Thursday night and hasn't been seen or heard from since. Her mobile phone is also missing and her bank account has been untouched.
Was she upset before she went away?
No, and the police, I've tried to help the police as much as I can, and we all have, and everything we've got, so thank you, I'm sorry.
On April 30th, 10 days after Allison was reported missing, a person canoeing along the Brisbane River made a grisly discovery.
A female person has been located deceased on the banks of the creek in that particular area. At this time, I can't confirm that that person is the missing person, Allison Baden-Clay. It's not a positive confirmation that it is Allison.
The following day, the body was confirmed to be Allison. She had been discovered about 8 miles from her home.
Police have confirmed that the body recovered in Western Brisbane yesterday is that of missing mother Allison Baden-Clay. Her husband issued a statement this evening saying he's devastated by his wife's death. Gerard Baden-Clay says his primary concern is the welfare of his 3 young daughters and attempting to provide them with some stability. Detectives are now focusing their attention on finding the killer.
It was the confirmation everyone was expecting, but no one wanted.
Primarily today, we can positively confirm that the body located yesterday was Allison's.
It took more than 24 hours to positively identify Allison Baden-Clay's body after it was discovered yesterday morning on the banks of the Colo Creek at Anstead.
The body may have washed down to where the final resting place was.
Allison's parents were informed that their daughter was gone.
It was the hardest call I ever made in my life, and ever will, I think.
Now there's a positive ID, detectives are focusing on finding her killer. Police on foot and motorbike spent the day scouring thick bushland near where the 43-year-old's body was found, and they recovered a mobile phone SIM card earlier today.
Because of how badly the body was decomposed, it was difficult to determine exactly how Allison had been killed. The autopsy report listed the cause of death, as well as time and place of death, as undetermined. Publicly, the police say they have a suspect but aren't ready to provide a name yet.
Detectives have interviewed Gerard Baden-Clay but won't comment on whether he's a suspect in the murder investigation. For now, he's staying with family. As Mrs. Baden-Clay's family and friends wait for answers, it's clear the wider community too is grieving, leaving flowers at her home.
Quietly, investigators have been building a case against Gerard, but they don't have the smoking gun to connect him to his wife's murder. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence, but no clear link. For example, they discover that the day Allison went missing, Gerard had searched highly specific legal terms like self-incrimination before the police arrived. There also were the strange and telling injuries on his body, which were inconsistent with his explanations. Then, even before her body was identified, Gerard was making calls to Allison's life insurance company, asking about the benefit. It came to light that Gerard was heavily in debt. He owed several $100,000 in loans and his business was failing. As the beneficiary, Allison's life insurance would have given Gerard over $975,000, more than enough to clear his debts. And finally, there was the affair Gerard had been conducting behind his wife's back. Was this Gerard's way of solving his problems while still remaining the victim and gaining sympathy? It certainly wouldn't be the first time a husband had tried something like this. Allison had been struggling with depression since the birth of her second child. Entries in her journal, which would later come to light, highlighted how lonely she felt.
I don't want to be alone. I am afraid of being alone and lonely, maybe because I think I can't handle it. I am afraid of failing in my marriage and what people will think. The effect you have had on my self-esteem and self-image. The complete lack of respect you had for me as you stripped me of any dignity I had. If you still think of me as weak, then I hope that perception has changed. Because according to the statistics, there are only a handful of couples that recover after an affair. And I plan to be one of them.
Allison's diary and letters revealed a person who had been lonely, depressed, and abused. Abuse isn't always visible. It doesn't always leave bruises or scars. Gerard was coercive, a bully who demeaned her. Family members claim that Gerard eavesdropped on Allison with baby monitors, controlling her finances and taunting her about her weight. He isolated her from those who loved her so he could have full control. Allison's parents would say at the trial,
"We knew Allison was strong, and we thought this is going to work out without our interference. So we didn't interfere and we thought it'd work out. But apparently it didn't. I think she was very frightened of him. He was a very dominating man."
There were 3 possible motives for Gerard to kill his wife. He wanted to be free to be with his mistress, Toni McHugh. Both Allison and Toni were planning on attending the same real estate seminar on the 20th of April, and there was a chance that his continuous double dealing would be revealed if his wife met his lover there. So, there was a powerful reason for him to prevent his wife going. He had serious financial troubles and needed the money from the life insurance. He definitely had a motive, but where was the evidence? And then, investigators have a breakthrough. They find a drop of Allison's blood in the family car. But more importantly, forensic experts find 6 different types of leaves entangled in Allison's hair and clothing. Only 2 of the 6 types could be found where her body had been discovered, but all 6 plants were in Allison's backyard.
It confirmed the suspicions police had about Gerard.
Allison had her hair done the 19th of April, in preparation to go to a real estate conference the next day. I find it highly unlikely that she would have been out rolling around in her backyard, getting that sort of foliage in her hair prior to going to a conference.
Neighbors say they had heard a short, sharp scream and a car's tires screeching on the night of the 21st of April. Detectives believed that Gerard had killed Allison inside the home, most likely in the bedroom. She fought back and scratched his face and chest, but he overpowered her. He dragged her body across the back patio, where the leaves became entangled in her hair and clothing. Then, Gerard lifted Allison's body and placed her in the car. He drove her to the Colo Creek Bridge and dumped her body under the bridge, hoping that it would be washed away.
It's one of those cases where we never had the smoking gun. It's a circumstantial case, but the circumstantial evidence we have is quite encompassing in my view.
After a 2-month investigation, Gerard was finally arrested on the 13th of June, 2012. He pleaded not guilty and the case went to trial. In 2014, 2 years after Allison's murder, the trial began. Text messages Gerard had sent his mistress Toni McHugh before Allison's murder were read in court, showing that he intended to settle things soon.
"I have given you a commitment and I intend to stick to it. I will be separated by July 1st. This is agony for me too. I love you. I'm sorry you hung up on me. It sounded like you were getting very angry. I love you, Gigi. Leave things to me now. I love you."
But Gerard also had flings with 2 other women during this period, and he claimed that he wasn't serious about breaking things off with Allison. Gerard himself took to the stand and denied he had ever done anything to Allison, but the jury saw through it.
"Did you kill Allison?" "No, I did not." "Did you fight with her on the evening of the 19th?" "No, I did not." "Or the morning of the 20th of April 2012? "No, I did not." "Did you at that time leave your children alone in the house to go to the Colo Creek Bridge?" "Definitely not." "Never." "Did you ever take any steps to dispose or conceal Allison's body?" No.
Although he never admitted to it, on the 15th of July 2014, Gerard was found guilty of murder and given a life sentence. A year later, on the 7th of August 2015, he appealed the decision on the argument that there wasn't enough evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt that he had intended to kill his wife. Although Gerard's sentence was controversially downgraded to manslaughter, it led to widespread public outrage and prompted an appeal by the prosecution. In August 2016, the High Court of Australia reinstated Gerard's murder conviction and the original life sentence. The High Court's ruling emphasized that Gerard's actions and his subsequent attempts to cover up the crime were sufficient proof of his guilt and intention. Gerard Baden-Clay has never spoken about the killing publicly, so what exactly transpired on the night of April 20th may never be known. But for those who knew and loved Allison, their memories of her paint a picture of a woman who was much more than the circumstances of her tragic end.
It sounds weird, but I'm really proud of her because she fought to the end, and that is not her. I mean, she is so gentle and soft and, just so beautiful. But for her, she was literally fighting for her life. And I would sit there during the trial and I would sort of feel so grateful to her that she had done that. She was remarkable. And her daughters, they got her for such a small amount of time, but they were lucky they had her for the time that they had.
Allison's family established the Allison Baden-Clay Foundation in her honor, which focuses on raising awareness of domestic and family violence. Its mission is to educate the community on recognizing and stopping domestic violence in all its forms. Allison's 3 daughters, Hannah, Ella, and Sarah, lost both their mother and father overnight, but they found solace in the love and support of Allison's sister and parents. Drawing inspiration from their mother, they've become high achievers in their own right, with Hannah following in Allison's footsteps as a ballerina. Together, they form a tight-knit unit, navigating life's challenges while honoring their mother's legacy. Jennifer is also the survivor of a horrific knife attack from someone she thought she could trust.
Please help me. I'm going to this bike is going to cut my throat. There's blood everywhere. I'm covered in blood.
The attack was so brutal that it's a miracle she survived. This is her story.